This is the Hidden Leaf Village's handsome devil, Rockley, and you're watching Anime Egotists. After this, you can do 51 sit-ups or watch all 51 episodes of Rockley and his ninja pals. Rockley, Leaf Hurricane!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where I don't think the Akatsuki would bother with us if we had tailed beasts.
No, we'd just be like an easy target after we died.
Yeah, pretty much. My name's Alex, and if I had to live in the Naruto world, I'd probably say I'd probably want to go with Naruto's class.
Yeah, they seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm Richard.
That's correct, and yeah, there have been a couple of Naruto references already in this video, and that's because we love Naruto. We've talked about the best fights, the worst fights, a dream video game, which that video holds up worse every single time I watch it. But regardless, we still love Naruto, particularly the characters.
Exactly. They make the story in this case. They're all unique. They're all just... It's so interesting seeing their different abilities that each one seems to have something completely unique to them. So that's part of why we want to discuss the best characters in Naruto.
Yeah, but not just the best characters, because look, you and I, we both love Naruto, we both love Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke have their moments,
yeah.
But we didn't want to focus on them as much. We wanted to focus on the characters that didn't necessarily get as much spotlight. That doesn't mean they're bad characters or even poorly written characters, but these are just characters that overall we just thoroughly enjoyed. The side characters.
Yeah, and they may still have like an important role in an arc, but they aren't Team 7 pretty much.
That's correct. So, shall we start?
Yep. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Let's get the easy one out of the way. Rockley.
Yep. I knew he was on your list.
Rockley. He's just... It's Rockley.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, first of all, my condolences. I'm so sorry. But in all seriousness, Rockley was a character. He couldn't do ninjutsu like fire, water, lightning. He couldn't do any of that. He couldn't do genjutsu, which is basically just illusions and stuff. The only thing he could do was hand-to-hand combat, which you would think, well, they're ninjas. Shouldn't they be good at that? Yeah, but this is before people started claiming to be gods and all that other sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. Rockley was a pretty weak character in terms of strength, but thanks to the help of a certain someone who might be on one of our lists, he goes from being this goofball character to still being a goofball, but is still just an utter badass, especially with, as everybody knows, his fight with Gara. His injuries and everything, we all felt super horrible for him, but he overcame it, and he became one of the most beloved characters ever. Not to mention he has his own spin-off, which is a spin-off.
Yes, and the fact that at the start, like his introduction is him kicking Sasuke's butt. And Sasuke is considered like the strongest of his generation at this point, pretty much. And then it's revealed that, oh, he's not even the strongest on his team. He's never beaten Neji, who might be on one of our lists as well. But
yeah, and they should have had another fight at some point.
But it's just one of those things that it's a really good introduction. He's funny, but then you get what we've talked about before is one of the best fights, especially for a non like god level or Jonin level fight in the series, in the Rockley versus Gara in the tuning exams. It's amazing.
He drops the weights, the hidden lotus. We learned the flashbacks help the story. They don't feel overbearing, and all the tuning exam fights were either 1 episode, 2 episodes, maybe not even that at times. This was 3. This got everybody's attention. And this Rockley, he's just incredible. Also, drunk Rockley may be the strongest character in the show.
Yeah, that was actually hilarious when she was like, "Wait, I need to take my medicine," and the Kimmy Maru lets him do
Like,
that.
yeah, sure, whatever.
I
Cool, go
understand.
for it.
I'm sick as well, so I understand.
And then he's like, this isn't medicine. I'm like, I mean, you could both just drink it and you could both just get drunk and tell stories together, but I guess that's not on your MO. But we've talked about Rockley before, did a video about him. It's Rockley. It's Rockley.
No, but I completely 100% co-signed.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so my first one is Shikomaru Nora. He's literally the genius of the entire class, despite being the laziest member of his entire class.
Yeah, but compared to some of the other characters, that's not really saying a whole lot.
That is very true. But, well, when you compare him to Naruto, Choji, and Kiba, it kind of shows that, yeah, the fact that he's still called the laziest of them all, but it's it's interesting to learn like his backstory, especially through the episodes with Asuma and all that, where Asuma learns that, oh, he's actually a tactical genius, and just does it, but gets bored with everything so easily, so he just doesn't try his best. But you get like he shows real leadership in the Sasuke retrieval arc, where I mean he's the only one who's been promoted, and he does a good job of of understanding what needs to happen. He doesn't, and showing that yes, he cares about the team still, when he like, especially because he leaves his best friend Choji behind to fight the first member of the Sound Four. It's just one of those things. I always like Shikamaru.
Yeah, not to mention that scene where Jirobo traps him in the boulder and he's basically buying time and trying to see, where's this conversation going? Like, where are the sound points going? So, like, we can know where the weakest point of the boulder is. He's a genius. Not to mention, with everything that happens in Shippuden, he still doesn't like doing a whole lot, but at the same time, he actually learns we need to do better for the next generation because of Asuma, despite the fact that Asuma himself didn't completely the quote unquote king Asuma was talking about didn't do a whole lot.
That is true. But yeah, and then the fact that even in as he got older, he pretty much took his father's place as the tactical genius and advisor to the elders and the Hokage of the village, just because of how good he is at what he does.
Yeah.
So
probably one of my favorite scenes is the scene like basically at the end. It's not the end of Naruto, but it's the end of the canon moments of Naruto, where they get back to the village and they say, "Oh, Choji and Neji are both going to be okay, and Naruto's back." And Tsunade says, "Shikamaru, your mission was a failure, but everyone's okay." And he's breaking down, crying, and says, "The next mission's going to be a success. I promise it." It's one of the best. It's one of my favorite scenes for him. Shikamaru he's a character, another character for me. If you don't like Shikamaru, like what are you doing? What's wrong? Who hurt you?
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit in the last video, which was the scene where he buries Hidan.
Yeah,
that is
cold-blooded.
And but he lights the cigarette for Asuma's spirit and all that. It's just it's an emotional moment.
Yeah, Joshin's not your god anymore. I am. I mean, I'm not gonna argue.
Yeah, so Shikamaru, yeah, he's just an amazing character, going from just kind of this I'm lazy and that's all I want to be to arguably he could probably defeat Sasuke and Naruto just by outthinking both of them.
That's not, like I said, that doesn't seem like it'd be very hard. But is that all for Shikamaru?
I think so.
Well, if you're going with Shikamaru, I'm going with his best friend, Choji.
Okay.
I just appreciate how simple of a character Choji is. He doesn't have like some horrific, tragic backstory of his dad and his mom. Like it's just his main thing is he just suffered from low self-esteem and lack of confidence, and it's presented in a very relatable way. Especially once he meets Shikamaru when they're kids, And Shikamaru doesn't care what Choji looks like or how Choji acts. He knows deep down Choji is one of the kindest people you will ever meet, as long as you don't take his food or call him fat or anything. I don't
Mhm.
know. Choji to me is just such a simple character, and I didn't realize how powerful he was until the Sasuke retrieval arc, when he starts taking those pills and basically saying, "If I have to die for the mission to be accomplished, I will die." And he got the power of the butterfly, which was, I still don't completely understand, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It's cool. Sometimes if something's cool, I'm able to overlook it. But he's
Mhm.
just a fun character who was loyal to his friends and was always willing to get stronger. I feel like he's one of the few characters who got done perfectly from start to, well, I can't say finish, but from start to the current where he's at now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He never stops being Choji. Where other characters, there's times where they're not done great. I'm specifically thinking of the I think that's Team 10. It's Team Asuma versus Asuma, and when he's resurrected, and Choji, out of everything, can't fight him. And that just seems like such an in character moment for Choji. That's the one person he can't do anything
Yeah,
to.
and people might be thinking, well, Shikamaru seems closer with Asuma, but I'm like, yeah, but Shikamaru, with his maturity, Shikamaru kind of understands what has to be done. He's not happy about it, but he knows it has to be done. When it comes to Choji, it kind of just showed, oh, deep down, I don't want to hurt Asuma. I don't want to fight him, even if, like, well, he's already dead, so. And like we said, it helps that the characters kept their personalities, even if they were controlled, they still understood the bonds they used to have, because otherwise it would have just been weird.
Yeah, that how to put it. Yeah, Choji just, I'm trying to think. He always seemed like he was going to be just one of those background characters, and probably one of the least used, and yet he ended up in one of the biggest arcs in the series, and ended up playing a part where he showed, I mean, during the Great Ninja War, after that, he shows up as part of the Konoha 11, 12, 13, 15, 150. I don't know how many there are now.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think you and me are part of that at this point, but I don't know. But overall, Choji, and I know a couple of people really, really like Choji, and I love that. I just wanted to shed some light on him because think he's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, I'll completely co-sign. Choji is a really amazing character.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about him a few times now, but and I decided to put him on my list, and that's Asuma.
Go for it.
I really enjoyed his character throughout. Of the teachers, him and Kurenai seem like the one that's best for all three members of the team that they are assigned. Because Guy's more, it seems like he's perfect fit for Rockley. Tenten and Neji, they might have succeeded better with someone else or gotten stronger faster with someone else. Kakashi is really good with Sasuke, but still lost him and wasn't the best with Naruto or Sakura as their main teacher. But Asuma, I mean, it seemed like he made really emotional connections. He knew, like, okay, if we're going out for a reward, let's go for barbecue. That's
That's for
Choji's
Choji.
favorite. Yep. He plays shogi with Shikamaru, and then I don't really remember there being that much of a connection, but
She knows that he knows he encourages her not to lose to Sakura at a couple of different points of the series. So he at least understands that. Though to be fair, let's not act like Ino's poor characterization was Asuma's fault. I don't think he was writing
exactly,
it.
exactly. But and besides the little issue you brought up with like the next generation being the king and it not going anywhere really, he's done really well because he even tries to help Naruto, who's not one of his own students, when he learns that he has wind release. He has one of the arguably saddest deaths in the entire series, just because you feel the emotion because his entire team shows up right as he passes, pretty much. And you feel the weight because at this point you found out that Kurenai's pregnant and it's his kid, and he tasks his own team or he specifically Shikamaru to go tell Kurenai about his death. And as we talked about, that fight between him and his former students, that's done really well. They each played perfectly, as I said, with Choji being sad and unable to fight, Shikamaru and a bit more understanding that it is Asuma, but we have to still fight him and steal him away because it has to happen.
My one kind of issue is why was Kurenai and him supposed to be a secret? Was there a reason for that?
Supposedly it's because they've been in an on-again, off-again relationship for since they were tuning level, and at one point Asuma did leave the village and her, and then came back and they started dating again, kind of thing. But no, there's not really a great reason.
Man, I don't remember any of this. You must have been watching that when I was asleep or something.
I think it's something to do with one of the handbooks or something. That's how they revealed the relationship. But that's as far as I remember what I read on a wiki or something.
Yeah, but also, just to backtrack a bit, Shikamaru has the shadow possession jutsu, Choji with the body expansion stuff, and Asuma had those weird knuckle duster thingies that you can put chakra onto.
Yeah, as I said, he was, in my opinion, probably the best teacher for his entire team, because he did seem to understand them relatively better than most of the other teachers, and was able to improve them all.
Yeah, and I can definitely co-sign onto that. Okay, can I go ahead?
Yep, go right ahead.
All right, since we've talked about a couple of obvious characters, I'm going to talk about a not so obvious character, Ibiki. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, he was basically the proctor of the written part of the tuning exams. I mean, first of all, I just want to say these few episodes with the written test are some of the best episodes of the series. And Ibiki's a huge part of that because he's intimidating, he's no nonsense, and he lets everybody know, hey, you can cheat, but if we catch you cheating too many times, we're going to throw you out. You fail alongside the rest of your teammates, basically. He's really interesting and kind of intimidating. And it's even revealed at some points that he knows when everybody's cheating. And it's just necessarily, well, I can't say anything. The other proctors have to notice it. Otherwise, what's the point? But they're just and then when he says the 10th question, then he's saying, hey, if you get the 10th question wrong, you're never allowed to take these. But if you want to just quit now, you can quit. And he just has a lot of tactics that make him really, really interesting. And then, of course, when Naruto raises his hand to give up, but then says, you're not going to break me, I'm going to be Hokage, Ibiki's like, all right, the 10th question, you guys pass. Wait, but what about the 10th question? Oh, there isn't one. We don't have a 10th question.
And I love his moment of when he's walking around the room collecting the tests, and he sees Naruto's has no answers. And he's like, and he's just shocked that someone was bold enough to do that.
Yeah, but the best thing is he explains every step of it. He's like, if you're doing a surveillance mission, if you get caught, it's over. So that's why you have to be careful about it. And more importantly, if you had raised your hand and said you quit, sacrificing the rest of your teammates, that's a problem. Kind of reinforcing Kakashi's mindset of, those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. He's just a fantastic character in the small little bit we get of him. I just thoroughly enjoyed him.
All right, yeah. I mean, I completely agree with Ibiki. I mean, that's the only major arc I can remember him being a part of. There might have been a filler arc that he took a small piece in between the series.
Do you remember the arc right before the Sasuke retrieval one where they had to go to that village where they had that race thing?
Yes, I do remember that one a little
I
bit.
think his brother was like the main person in that arc, but that's not an arc I go back and watch for the good times.
Exactly, no, but um, yeah, he's interesting. I mean, it is interesting to see him because I think he shows up in the a Pain's Assault arc, and then at the very end of the series, he's the prison guard for Sasuke when he's blindfolded and tied up in Konoha's prison while waiting for the Hokage's decision.
Yeah, that didn't last too long. But overall, Ibiki, he was cool. Well, I'd like to think that, like, maybe he could have been not like a permanent teacher, but just like more of a teacher to other types of shinobi. Because remember, stealth and information getting is a huge task, which doesn't seem to go that far in comparison to let's just beat the snot out of everybody.
I mean, imagine if he had taken like um, Shino under his wing, because Shino's already a very quiet person, and then just turns him into like master stealth and uses his insects, and you just Shino's always going on these like almost Ambu level missions on his own.
Yeah, but like I said, Ibiki was pretty cool.
Yep, I'll completely co-sign onto that.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so my next one is Minato. He, how to put it? As a kid, I think we kind of all knew that he was Naruto's dad, especially once they revealed his picture and all that. And
Yeah.
he looks so much like him. But he learned so much about how much he really did want to be a dad to Naruto, and he was such a nice guy. I mean, even from like when they do the flashbacks to where he and Kushina meet, and she thinks he's just going to make fun of her like everybody else, and all he wants to do is just be her friend, and he's like the nicest guy in the entire series. He's also arguably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, Hokages uh, of like the second, or from the second to the third, or second through the fourth at least.
Yeah, yeah. Not to, there's just something very cool and calming about his presence, and then you see how he acts, and you're like, wow, Naruto got almost nothing from him, and you realize he's Kushina, like Naruto gets his personality from his mom.
Exactly, but just in the fact that I mean he was a genius level on almost everything because he invented the Rasengan. He improved the Flying Thunder God technique from when the second Hokage used it, and the fact that he was able to figure out, I mean, Obito's powers and all that during their fight, and pretty much defeat him single-handedly when everyone in a generation later would struggle consistently to beat him.
Minor side tangent. Was Naruto's mom the best written female in the whole series?
That's possible. I'm trying to, because
What competition does she have?
the only other ones that play such a major role in the entire series are Tsunade, Sakura, and Ino, and then it's pretty much her. There's no one else that plays as big a role as far as I can think of. I mean, can you think of any other females that play that big role?
No, not Hinata, not really. But it was just a weird thought I have. But I don't know. Kishimoto, you need help with your female characters.
Yeah, but thinking back on, I mean, with Minato, it's just I love that the other Hokages keep giving him props for being like because they like especially the first and the second who never met him are like, oh wow, yeah, you've improved like all my jutsu. How did you do this?
Yeah, and meanwhile, Hashirama in the manga says, "Holy crap, a fourth!" Like he's like, "Okay, I did not expect my village to last this long. Good job."
Yeah, and he's such a dad, like because you see how to put it when Naruto's about to break the seal, you see him wanting like all he wants to do is was be there for his son, but he knew that the only way to save his life was to do what he did. And it's such a satisfying yet sad moment when you realize the life Naruto could have had they've been successful in separating or returning the Kurama to Kushina instead.
Yeah, not to mention the whole as he was leaving, he's like, by the way, Naruto, happy birthday. He starts leaving. I'm like, wait, can I keep the lightning kunai? Or oh no, you're gone. Somebody could have held on to that.
Yep. And then he has the badass moment of having, like, in the afterlife, having befriended the, I think it's the yin half of Kurama, and being able to use the powers as well. It's like that's a little iffy, but it's still badass when he shows up like that.
Yeah, not to mention the effect he has on Kakashi, Obito, and Rin. When that's somewhat. I think. Look. I will always argue that the pain arc of Naruto was kind of where it peaked, but this wasn't necessarily bad afterwards.
Exactly. I give the war arc a lot of flack for having issues. I still really enjoyed watching it. Does it have too much filler? Yes, but it's still enjoyable when it's showing you the actual story.
The 300 plus episodes, yeah. Okay, I gotta say, overall, you're not taking a lot of the characters that are on my list.
That's kind of what I was hoping for. I think you've kind of done the same. I had a few like backups because I pretty much knew they would be on your list.
Yeah, same. Hey, but if we're going to talk about, been talking about the heroes a lot, I want to give one of the villains some love.
Okay.
Kisame.
Okay, yeah.
I really struggled between Akatsuki. I've already talked about Hidan, and just in case there are any more on your list, I'm not going to waffle on the names, but Kisame to me was just, there was something terrifying about this guy when I first saw him. He's 9 feet tall. He's a giant shark. And his weapon, shark skin, is just, it's insane to me. Hey, because as he clarifies, it doesn't slice, it just sort of tears you to shreds, which doesn't sound all that intimidating, but when you see it in action, how heavy it is, you just realize how cool he is. Not to mention, he's oddly kind of, I'm not going to say he's an idiot, but there are times when he really needs to check himself. Like when he first meets Might Guy and he calls Might Guy mighty stupid looking guy, which not a bad insult, but then Hitachi tells him, "Oh, you're going to have a hard time with him." Not to mention his rivalry with Guy. It's like, Guy Sensei, do you remember this guy? I do not. It's just his reaction to it. But overall, I think it was just, to me, it was kind of implied throughout the series that Kisame knew Itachi wasn't really a bad guy. That deep down, maybe he knew, but he kind of just, his friendship with Itachi kind of superseded that, which kind of just showed his loyalty, especially when his death, when he sacrifices himself so the village won't get any of the information for the upcoming war. I just found Kisame to be just such a delight.
I can completely agree. And the fact that he's called the tailless tailed beast.
Yeah.
And I mean, that puts him considered on par with the likes of Killer Bee and stuff in power. And sometimes you can see it. There are times where he, I don't know, his death was good, but I don't know. It seems like he should have been able to overpower and get away if he was really that powerful. But again, I think he was at that point recovering still. So,
to be fair, I think his voice actor in Japanese was very sick, and they have the tradition of generally, if somebody can't do the role anymore, then the character won't show up anymore.
Yeah, so
it's like in Pokemon why we haven't seen May for such a long time. Apparently, her voice actress has long since retired.
Okay, but yeah, as I said, I'll co-sign. He is really, how to put it. I do agree with the part about him and Itachi. It almost seems like Kisame is just there. He doesn't even care about the actual plan. He's just there to
Nope.
cause destruction and as much mayhem as he can.
Not to mention, at the same time, he was like, "Oh, Toby's gone? Huh? He was funny." I'm like, nobody else has that reaction but you. But okay, Keith. There was also this weird after credits moment in one of the episodes where they're talking about Itachi or something. And Data and him are like, "Oh, so that's Itachi. He's a pretty good looking guy, unlike you, Kisame." And Kisame just says, "I'm just a freak show, aren't I?" I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, and I was interested when I was watching Boruto. It wasn't done great, but it did get me interested in with the members of his clan that are trying to return the village hidden in the mist to the blood mist village description. And as I said, it's not done well, so I don't really care for it, but it almost hooked me at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not to mention in the Rockley show, he treats shark skin basically like it's his dog.
does the main show do much better once Killer B has it?
No, not really. It's especially weird because he's one of the few characters who gets his original voice actor. So I can watch one episode of him threatening to kill everybody, and then him saying, "Who's a good boy, shark skin?" And I just don't know how to feel about it.
Nah, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, but he's just really cool.
Exactly. But besides being cool, he's also like one of the biggest threats, especially in the entire first part and most of the second part of Naruto. He is considered like number 3 of the most threatening people, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, and he's also uses water techniques, which have been proven to be a lot stronger than fire techniques, because fire techniques in Naruto don't really do that much when you really start to really, really watch it.
Yeah, you seem to be able to walk through fire and get like, oh, I'm a little toasty. It's the Ash and Charizard kind of thing, or
oh goodness. Oh, I have some unpopular opinions about that, but that's not a video for right now.
Well, you did a 7 Ninja Swordsman. I think I'll do mine off my list.
Go ahead.
Zabuza. We've talked about him a little bit, but he's the villain that I think a lot of people realized, oh, this is going to be a really fun show to watch. Because at this point, he pretty much, he beat Kakashi in their first fight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He beat Kakashi. It's just from the fact that Sasuke and Naruto interrupted the fight between them and set Kakashi free is the only reason that he ended up losing.
In their defense, it was a really smart idea.
But the only issue is that he did have he was affected by Taka no Jutsu.
Yeah, but that was back when we were like, "Oh man, that's a pretty interesting way of going about it." If it had happened at any point later, we would have been like, "Okay, all right, go ahead."
Exactly, but the fact that he has this relationship with Haku of you're a tool, but deep down I actually really appreciate you, and Haku sacrifices himself for Zabuza, and then Naruto's like, really, you're just gonna walk away from that after he pretty much whatever his name is, the bad guy at this point.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember his name.
He's like a mafia boss or something. I can't remember what exactly he's called though. Betrays Zabuza, and just his final moments of, well, my arms are disabled, hand me a kunai. And they toss it into his mouth and he runs through the crowd, killing everybody. But yeah, this is the proof, though, originally, that water jutsu were really overpowered, because there was the water dragon, the water prison, and the hidden mist jutsu were all shown at this point in the series.
Yeah, not to mention, I know it's technically water, but Haku's ice jutsu, who was incredible, and I'm just saying that because Haku was another kind of character on my... Haku was a backup character for me, so I'm like, we're already talking about it, might as well. But yeah, Zabuza.
Exactly. And I mean, that first fight you saw, I mean, he traps Kakashi in a water prison where he'll literally drown in a few minutes if he isn't saved by Naruto and Sasuke. If, as I said, if it wasn't for them, we would have lost Kakashi in the first like 50 episodes of the series, and that would have just been like a complete tragedy in and of itself.
That would have been so weird. Not to mention when he got brought back during the war arc and he had to fight Kakashi. And like I said before, they did not want to fight each other. But at the same time, it was just to me, it just showed how much they had all learned from each other and how deep Kakashi finally admitted, because Naruto said after burying them, he said, deep down, I actually think I liked them. And then Kakashi says that he liked them too.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, did you hear that?
Sort of.
I have no idea what it was. So, okay. We'll just keep filming.
Anyways, so I'm gonna be honest. Are we doing the thing where it's like honorable mentions, because we both still have a couple of characters left?
I mean, I've got them set aside that I could talk about as honorable mentions.
Oh wait, I already got them. Okay, so yeah, let's go. So my first one.
Go right ahead.
Okay, it's Iruka.
Okay, this one we actually both had on our list as honorable mentions.
For once, I'm okay with that. Iruka was just... Look, was he the strongest? No. Did he do the most? No. He saved the world, though, because he was the first person... Like, it wasn't even necessarily he showed Naruto kindness, but everybody else rejected him, and Iruka told him, hey, you need to start paying attention in class. You need to actually start, like, bucking up. You have potential. It's one of those things where he actually treats Naruto kind of like he would treat another troublesome student. But when things get worse, he actually shows loyalty, and he tells, in the first episode, he says, this is Naruto. Oh, he's one of the strongest people I know. And if it wasn't for that, who knows what would have happened to Naruto? He's just such an instrumental character, especially when they talk around Jiraiya's death. And it feels so earned when Naruto says, will you be the father at my wedding? And then we all just start crying because day one.
Yeah. And when you finally do learn like his backstory with Naruto and all that through some of those flashbacks where he didn't want to treat Naruto as a person because that night he too became an orphan the same night Naruto did. He lost his mother and father because of the Nine Tails going on a rampage, and he knew that Naruto was the Nine Tails and hated him for it. But yet he overcame that prejudice of, hey, and came to discover, no, he's not the Nine Tails. He's just a misunderstood kid.
Yeah, part of me did want to see a couple more fights from him, but at the same time, we also see a profound effect he has on like the other students at the academy, like Konohamaru and his friends.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. He also shows, I mean, real concern when he finds out who Naruto's teacher is going to be, because he's like, oh, great. I did all that, and now he's going to fail and have to come back to the academy again.
Yeah. To be fair, I feel like he might have just wanted Guy to teach him. I feel like Guy... You said that about Guy earlier, but I think Guy could be a great teacher for anybody.
Yeah, I think as long as he has someone that he not necessarily pities, but kind of understands, because he would have someone to teach. So yeah, I could see Guy doing well with Naruto. I don't think he would do well with Sasuke or Sakura.
No, Guy. That's the thing. That's the new series. Guy's teaching everybody. It's an alternate universe where where everybody's wearing those jumpsuits.
I mean, there was an episode, I think, where Naruto gets one and is so excited about it.
I would be too. He's also a playable character in one of the video games, Naruto in the bright jump and the green jumpsuit. It's incredible. But Iruka, but still, even if regardless, Iruka was just a caring person who I don't want Iruka to die. I can't. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
I still. Oh, it's a storm. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been dealing with. But keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Um. Yeah. So I was. What was I gonna say? I still always wondered. Okay, he's now the principal of the academy or the headmaster, whatever the name of the position actually is there. Does that make him a Jonin, or is he still just a Chunin that is head of the academy?
I think he's just a tuning.
I kind of figured, but then I always questioned because I always thought Shino ended up promoted to Jonin at some point and was the and is a teacher there. So it's just like, okay, so is he a is he also a Chunin still? Which would be really depressing because he was like the second strongest or the strongest back when he took the Chunin exams.
Should we just talk about Shino at this point?
Probably. We've already talked about him somewhat in other videos.
Yeah, well, that's why honorable mention kind of works perfectly.
Since he'll be my honorable mention since what was it? Eruka was on my list as well.
All right, but that's it. Iruka was cool. If Iruka dies, I'm done. I quit.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But all right, so let's just talk about Shino since we've already kind of brought him up.
Whoop whoop.
I mean, he was this background character in like the first like 20 episodes of the tuning exams, but when you get to the tournament fights, he's just savage.
Yeah, that's a way of putting it. We all just kind of forgot that Shino's kind of a monster. And when I first saw him as a kid, I thought, "Oh, is he going to be like a bad guy or something?" Oh, no, he's on our side. Oh, somehow that's worse.
Yeah, he's always seems like in those first I guess pretty much through the tuning exam, he's always like, is he the strongest? Maybe, probably, yes. Just because it's like, okay, how do you defeat him? He literally blew up people's arms by putting insects in the holes in their arms that they used to make wind power.
Yeah, and like he's just such a badass, especially during the shoot. And he kind of does have some character development. Like very early on, it kind of just seems like he's stuck with this team regardless. It's not that he hates them necessarily, but he doesn't really get along with either Kiba or Hinata. But as the series progresses, he's openly trying to help. He's openly trying to help Hinata overcome her shyness, and he kind of tethers Kiba back from being, well, Kiba.
Yeah, and the only issue is though that pretty much once the Sasuke retrieval arc hits, I know that he's supposedly on another mission. There's really like he doesn't do anything after this until the wedding.
Yeah, he did have a pretty cool fight against his older brother. His older brother who worked with Danzo. It's just nobody really remembers that because like it felt like it didn't feel as important as other stuff.
Yeah, what makes him an honorable mention is that I mean you have to wait like from the end of the tuning exams where he goes after and rescues and fights Konkuro.
Oh, I loved that fight.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything else until the wedding, and then his only, as you said, you talked about that fight, but there's not. I barely remember that fight between him and his brother, and then he has like a 3-episode, 2-episode arc with Kiba where they're trying to find a wedding gift for Hinata and Naruto. And then you jump, and then he has a bigger role in Boruto where he's pretty much become Iruka for Naruto's generation or Boruto's generation.
Yeah. Although to be fair, from the beginning of Naruto all the way basically until, I guess, somewhat into the beginning of Boruto, he's undefeated.
Yeah, I guess he is. Yeah, because I can't think of one because they don't even give him a fight in the Chunin exams except for he takes his own fight to Kankuro. He's like, because doesn't he kind of act like I wanted to fight you?
Yeah, it's just like, we never got our match, so we're doing this. And he has a really great strategy throughout it, basically as he's already been poisoned. And honestly, one of my favorite scenes is when his dad shows up, and I thought, oh man, these two together would be unstoppable. And apparently they were. We just never got to see it.
Yeah, and these bug jutsus are how to put it so interesting. Like because there seems to be a bug that could do almost anything. There's bugs that drain other people's chakra, drain their stamina, remove poison from him, make repairs on his body. It's like, wow, no, he really is overpowered. Like he could do almost anything with just his own insects.
I remember during that Bakochu Beetle arc where Naruto's screwing up and Shino has to save his life. He's like, I warned you not to get careless. And Naruto says, when we get back to the village, I'm going to kick this guy's butt. I'm like, you wish you could. He would kill you without even trying.
Yeah, you'd make a really good meal for his insects.
Yeah, and then there was also that weird episode where they went to the funeral and he started laughing like crazy. It was, something.
Yeah, that one was iffy.
It wasn't boring.
Yep.
But yeah, that's Shino.
All right, your next honorable mention.
Oh, right, that's me. Oh, God. I put too many characters because I thought we'd overlap more. So, in some sense, I'm proud, but okay. Gara.
Okay, yeah, he wasn't on my he's on my list, but as a backup to the backups.
Gara is just one of the saddest stories of everybody. He, like Naruto, he was a Jinchuriki, but he had nobody who cared about him. Nobody, not even his own siblings, were terrified of him, and he lost his mother. His own uncle tried to kill him because of it, so he grew into a very hateful, terrifying person. And so, in the sense of, we didn't learn that much about him when when he crippled Lee, which was awful. But then when you start learning more and more about him, it's not that you're happy with him, but you do start to feel. Plus, all of his sand jutsu and stuff is incredible. And when he finally does the Taka no Jutsu with Naruto, it shows that he understands, he cares. One of the first things he says to Kankuro and Tamari afterwards is, "I'm sorry." Like, he grows into such a loving person, and I just thought Gara was amazing.
He almost goes through how to put it the like what Naruto goes through in Shippuden, where he's still kind of ostracized at the start, but becomes the hero at the midway point. He's done that between the series, and like his village loves him now. They used to fear him because he was the Jinchuriki, but now he's literally beloved. Like it seems like almost all of the members of the village now love him uh, and respect him, and his family is literally like, they're upset at that in the Kasakage retrieval mission, where when they bring out his body and all that. I mean, it's a legitimate sad moment.
Yeah, but it's also kind of heartbreaking because when he sees what Sasuke is going through, we see him crying because he sees just how much Naruto cares about Sasuke, and the fact that Sasuke is this foregone, and it's heart-wrenching for him. And it makes it all the more satisfying when everything starts getting wrapped up, that you just see, because it's not that he's a nice guy now, but he's still relatively calm and serious like he was when we first met him. Except that when you try to take a picture or a video with him, he gets really nervous and then blasts Lee with sand by accident. Which he did try to apologize for. He did try to apologize for Lee for his injuries, but then Lee's like, no, thanks for doing it because it made me stronger. I'm like, Lee, you're pretty, but you're so stupid. But I love you, Lee.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah. I don't. He goes through so much growth, and the fact that I mean, you almost get like a moment in the because you got the moment earlier in the tuning exams where Kakashi feels Orochimaru's killing intent.
Yeah.
There are moments where I think right before like the third round starts, where there or I guess the fourth round, whatever the second half of the tournament where it's in the stadium instead of the temple, um, where there's like Naruto and I forgot who else was with him. I guess it's Shikamaru feel the killing intent from Gara at that point, and
Yeah.
before that there was in Rockley's uh, hospital room where Gara shows up to try to. He's pretty much like, I'm here to finish him.
Yeah. Except, although knowing Rockley, he probably could have fought out of it. But like I said, Gara was amazing. But the less we say about his haircut and Boruto, the better.
Exactly.
That was probably Lee's idea to get back at him.
Hey, I have the perfect barber. Just take this bowl and go over there.
Oh gosh. But yeah, Gara's great.
Yeah. All right. My next honorable mention is Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage.
Okay.
He's just you get a little bit of him through the flashbacks of him and Madara, and he's so optimistic. He so wants like there to be peace, and that if we all start coming together, we'll be a lot stronger as one group instead of separate. And I mean, they've both. He admits that both sides are wrong. That's the thing. That's he knows that his clan isn't innocent in all the bloodshed that's happened between him and between them and the Uchihas. So it's just he goes through so much and yet remains so positive. And I absolutely love the scene where they're discussing who the fifth Hokage is, which somehow the third knows who the fifth Hokage is without being alive when they were selected. And when it's revealed that it's Tsunade, his granddaughter, he's like, oh, and the village is still standing, right? I find that moment absolutely hilarious.
And not only that, but he has wood style jutsu, which Tsunade doesn't have.
It's unique to him because even his brother doesn't have it. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. But I guess, and another thing is, how the hell did he die?
Supposedly, it's like old age or a disease, or some even have said it's heartbreak from the fact that he thought he killed his best friend in Madara.
I don't know.
It's never been actually revealed, but those are kind of the big things. It's either old age, a disease, or he just kind of gave up on life after killing what he viewed as his best friend and adoptive brother in Madara.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, did Hashirama... Okay, as much as we talk about the war arc, I feel like in that arc, Hashirama and Madara did not interact as often as we talk about.
They really don't. They show up for the red version of the ceiling jutsu thing, where they hold someone inside like the 4 red corners. And, yeah. But the fights between Naruto, Sasuke, Madara, Minato's a little bit in it because he uses the Flying Thunder God, and there's like a few times where at the start of the fight where they talk, but really, yeah, there's not as much interaction as you would expect. You would have thought, well, there should have been 2 big fights going on. It should have been Hashirama versus Madara, and then like Team 7 versus Obito as the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and that would have been really cool.
Yeah, but have Hashirama fight Madara right after the Might Guy stuff.
Yeah, I would have been cool. Like, okay, I'll hold him off as much as I can, and it would have been interesting having him almost get completely destroyed by Madara, like as the 10 Tails, just because there was nothing left for him to be able to do.
Yeah, but I agree. Hashirama, the first Hokage, he's a badass. I would let him hang out with us.
Of every like of all the characters, he might actually be up for it. He just show up and be like, okay, we're playing poker.
All
Let's
right,
gamble.
all right, man. You're gonna have to teach me the rules. But okay, so I'm gonna be honest. My list is almost done. I only have 3 characters, but one of them's gonna be super quick.
All right. I mean, I've got a ton left, but that was just because. But I was not planning to use them all. So
Yeah, all right. I'll just get the quick one out of the way. Dosu.
okay.
I've talked about this guy before. He's from the Chunin exams, the Sound Village. He has the bandages all across his face. And he
Mhm.
has those awesome sound techniques that he doesn't even have to touch you for. I just found him to be a really intriguing, intelligent character who had a little bit of charm to him, and also it kind of showed he was growing a heart because he was slowly growing to care about about other people in the sound trio. I just
Mhm.
found him to be really cool. His techniques were awesome, and then he just died really quickly, and I just wasn't a fan of that, like I've talked about. But Dosu was probably my favorite out of all of them.
I can understand that because he was also arguably the strongest of them all because the other ones had their arms destroyed and the other one got knocked out by bending too far backwards, if I remember correctly.
And then she hit her head on the wall.
Yeah, so it's just how to put it. He's definitely the best of those characters, and it is sad because he goes to confront Gara and Gara kills him, and
Yeah,
it's off. It's not even on screen. It's like he confronts him, realizes his mistake, tries to flee, and then gets killed.
yeah, and then it was either Orochimaru or Kabuto's just like, oh well, whoops.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting having him be. I would have liked to have seen him survive and maybe even become part of Sasuke's group or something at the Taka and
The Hebi, the Taka,
the Akatsuki.
the Chicago Bears. I don't know. They had like 5 different names over the course of the series, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, and the fact that it kept changing as well. It's just yeah.
Yeah,
I could understand maybe changing once or twice if it was spread out, but it was like 50 episodes and they changed the name like every 10 episodes.
good God, that'd be horrible. But yeah, Dosu was cool. There's not a whole lot to say because he got killed off way too early.
I would have liked to have seen him as one of the people that got resurrected and just like he's able to like affect an entire like battalion and it requires someone to really get serious to stop him
Yeah,
from.
not to mention he comes from the Sound Village and he actually uses sound techniques. We like how are I feel like that should be really really strong and a lot of people should use it, but nope.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the village hidden in the leaves, the main village uses fire jutsus instead. I know they're from the land of fire, but like how to put it, the only time I can kind of remember there being leaves is Rockley and Guy when they do like the primary lotus because leaves show up in that.
And the Leaf Hurricane and Whirlwind. So that just proves they are the best characters on the show.
Because they're the only ones that understand, hey, we're supposed to incorporate leaves in our jutsu.
That would be correct. But Dosu, yeah, he's cool.
All right, my next one.
Go for it.
All right, this one was we actually talked about last week a little bit. Orochimaru.
Yep.
He was, as you said, he is very scary, especially when you first meet him. Uh, I mean, he makes almost everybody freak out because he makes Sasuke freeze up, he makes Kakashi freeze up. He fights what's many people at this point are considering the strongest ninja that we know of in the Hokage. He's just, and I really enjoy that fight between Orochimaru and Hiruzen. It's the whole master apprentice fight, and then he literally like, okay, I can resurrect the dead now and summons back the first and the second Hokage just to use them against him, and he's trying to bring the fourth.
And he almost got the fourth one too.
Yeah, and just the whole fight between them and the loss of his arms, just the fact that he, in order to make him a fair opponent for a whole, like pretty much the rest of Naruto at least, they had to sacrifice his arms and make him that much weaker just to put him on par with the majority of the like big hitters is just shows how strong he actually was at this point.
Yeah, not to like like I said, he's scary. But he's also like really, really smart. Orochimaru is cool, but like I've also said before, his whole thing at the end was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I wish that they had done more with him. I wish I wanted Sasuke to defeat him. That I was fine with that, but I wish that there was something more, like he got away and was living in hiding, and rather than have Kabuto ingest part of him and start becoming like Orochimaru, it would have been interesting. Like, okay, he's still planning to figure out a way of capturing Sasuke and forcing it on him, only to be defeated again and then brought to the village to forcibly resurrect the Hokage or something. That would have been a much more interesting, I think, storyline for him.
Exactly, but yeah, he was cool. I enjoyed him,
and he does have what's supposedly the best offspring, as we've talked about a few times. In what's his name from Boruto?
Mitsuki.
Yep, that's it. All right, so you said you have one more honorable mention and then final ones?
I get the feel. Do you have any Akatsuki members on your list?
I mean, I have them, but they're like my backups. So.
Good lord! All right, so I'll just get the obvious one out. Hitachi.
Mm-hmm.
He's the cool. He's like one of the coolest characters ever. Like, I feel like I don't even have to say more than that. But he's just so instrumental, and he's cool. We learned early on that even early on we learned, maybe he didn't do the right thing, but maybe he was kind of forced into it. Only for us to learn even more and more. And we're like, no, we're on this guy's side now. Not to mention, when he does end up having to kill his own family, they tell him, do what you have to do. We love you regardless. And it makes it all the more heartbreaking when it happens. I understand he had to die, but part of me just wanted... This is the fan of me talking, that I just kind of wanted him to live.
Yeah. I do like that it's kind of revealed that his dad isn't really in favor of the coup. And the whole reason that he has to execute the entire village or his entire clan, it's just he's the leader, but he still believes in doing what his clan wants to do and all that, and all the stuff that he reveals through that. But he seems to have such, like, I don't want to say a great relationship with his dad, but they understand each other and respect the other, and I understand, and I like that a lot in the series.
Well, his dad also kind of obsesses over him because Sasuke's always like, why are you always talking about Itachi? What about me? And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of good point.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he always seems like the strongest one, especially in the first part. Like, I don't think there's anyone shown that's probably stronger than him at that point.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think he's supposed to already be sick. So he's already losing strength, and he's still stronger.
Yeah, and apparently, based on like lore from the manga and the video games, we still didn't even see him at his full strength. So that's terrifying.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, the strongest ones we had seen up to that point were the three Sannin, Kakashi and the third Hokage were kind of those were the like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in like level of strength, and he bodies Kakashi by using his infinite or whatever that jutsu is that he has. I was going to call it the infinite Tsukuyomi, but
it's just regular Tsukuyomi. But wait a minute. So the Tsukuyomi is supposed to last for 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Naruto and Jiraiya left to get Tsunade, and that was supposed to be close to a week. So, what happened?
I don't know, and it left Kakashi bedridden until they got Tsunade back anyway. So
That whole 3 days thing just I don't know. They probably just should have just left that part out.
I mean, it probably wipes you out no matter what they say, because they say it feels like each second is a year or something like that of just torture. Yeah. So,
not to mention when he comes back, he's actually, I love his conversation with Naruto. Like, hey, you can save Sasuke, you can save the world, but if you keep going off on your own and basically like not taking into account everybody else besides Sasuke, you're not going to recover from it. You're going to go down a path you don't want to go down. Hitachi was just a wise character, and I have no idea why there are fans who keep saying he never should have been revealed. He should have just been straight up evil. I'm like, no, absolutely not.
No, he was pretty much given an ultimatum of kill your clan, spare your brother, and become a fugitive, or die with them when they attempt the coup. That was literally the choices that they were given, and it's really depressing, but when it's revealed why he did it, it is one of the biggest and saddest moments in the entire series, and it does lead to the flip-flopping we were talking about Sasuke with, where he keeps changing what he's but like, and even his last moments where he's stumbling towards Sasuke about to die, and Sasuke's terrified of him, thinking, oh my god, he's going to steal my eyes and kill me.
I would prefer that.
And yet he does the loving forehead tap, and that's kind of like Sasuke realizing, I've made a huge mistake. I should have just been here for him.
Yeah, not to mention, if they had gotten him back to the village or something, you'd think maybe Tsunade could have done something. Maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many different things that like Itachi falls into like this big what if category of, okay, what if he sided with the Uchiha? What if he didn't do this? What if he didn't do that? What if the entire village knew what he actually was, and all that stuff? And it's interesting to like, and just go on YouTube. If you type in Itachi what if, you're going to find hundreds of different videos about it.
Yeah, but like I said, Itachi, he was cool.
Yeah, as I said, I'll complete close sign. So my last honorable mention.
Go for it.
So we touched on him a little bit earlier, and that's Midgie Huga.
I wanted to put him on my list, but I'm like, I'm having thoughts.
He's not a bad guy, but he's an antagonist for the tuning exams, especially, where he's 100%. If you're born strong, and if you're not, you'll never be truly strong. He has this whole philosophy of destiny is set from birth. Some of those, you may be born strong, but because you were born in the second branch of a family, you're going to be sacrificed and for someone else's sake. He's such a tragic story in when it comes to everything, but he actually grows, especially in the first part. He does have one of the worst fights with him versus Naruto. We've talked about that before.
Yep.
But he shows legitimate growth throughout, especially the first part. And I mean, he wanted nothing to do with Hinata in this part, only to later on go, no, I don't hate you anymore. I want you to be strong.
And
And
eventually become kind of overprotective about her at times.
yeah, he does have one of the hard deaths that we've talked about before, where we wanted someone else to die, but he's, how to put it, it is a great sacrifice that he makes to say, because he knows that Naruto can change the world, because he changed his entire view and how things are.
Yeah, but he still should have been alive. Like, and they say, oh, well, it was done to push Hinata and Naruto closer together. I'm like, you could have done that without killing Neji. Not to mention, you kind of proved him right. Like, he was right in the end.
Kind of, but it would have also been interesting. Like, yeah, I agree that we've talked about it before. Naruto should have been able to heal him just like he did with Guy, like stop the bleeding or something, and just, it's like, you may never be a ninja again, but at least you're still alive. And imagine him becoming like the head advisor of the Hyuga clan or something.
Yeah. And then for the fanfic purposes, you could have Lee say at some point, get the surgery. You're still my rival, get the surgery. That could actually lead to a really beautiful episode.
Yeah, it would have been like, I think we've talked kind of about this before, where we like how we would want to fix it, but yeah, would have just been that. And I would have loved to see his reaction, like to Guy Sensei's almost death at this few episodes later, like what he thought of it or how he reacted, because I could see that being like his big emotional moment of like he's breaking down.
Yeah. He also had some killer techniques in the games. Like I talked about before, he had technique that supposedly shut off an 8 gates transformation.
Which would, yeah, that could have been interesting. Okay, yeah, if that's true, then maybe he could have, okay, I can stop, I'll go in and stop it before a guy reaches his limit and kills himself.
Well, the hilarious thing is apparently he learned it while Lee was injured. So deep down to me that says Neji always thought Lee's gonna get better from this. And when he's better and he wants a rematch, I have to be ready. Which is, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but it's a sweet headcanon, so it's fine for me.
Yeah, and he does have a arguably one of my favorite fights in the Sasuke retrieval mission with him and I forgot what his name is.
Kidomaru?
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like I remember you. I feel like I've rewatched that video, and you said you didn't like that fight.
I keep changing my mind on like everything, but
yeah, because I specifically remember because you ended up saying in that video, I don't remember liking this fight, but I also don't remember. I'm like, that's not the rule. Is you're supposed to co-sign. I co-sign for my hero stuff. That's probably good, but I just haven't checked it out yet.
Right now, thinking back on it, I for some reason I remember that fight a lot more now, and I haven't watched it since in a long time, but it's one of the more interesting ones. Probably it would be, I like Choji's a little bit better, which is strange because it's not as like flashy as that one.
I feel like I said, yeah.
But the other two are just, the other two, I don't know. I know I don't care for the Shikomaru one.
No, me either.
That was just weird. And Kiba's one shows a lot of growth, but but it seems like it's like the least detailed of all of them.
Man, Kiba really got shafted sometimes. I forgot what character we were oh, Neji, right.
Yeah.
The Neji, like, I feel like there was so, like, if they had kept him alive but done pretty much nothing with him, I feel like that would have been better than what they ended up doing at his last moments, because, yeah. Plus, we never got to see Lee and Neji fight anymore.
Yeah, and I think it would be absolutely hilarious, because I think he would follow his uncle and be a doting uncle on Boruto and Himawari. It just, like, I could see them showing up to the compound, to the Huga compound to look at to do something, and it's here's Grandpa, and here comes Neji, and they're both just all over them, so loving for
Do you
some
want to be
reason.
an airplane? Yeah, sure. Rotation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love Neji though. Neji's great. Hey, but I understand why he's an honorable mention because yeah,
he has, as I said, probably the worst fight we've talked about in Naruto, and his death isn't great.
yeah, not yeah, but then again, if you want to watch a series where Neji's still alive, just watch the Rockley show where he cross dresses.
I also do like uh, the only good thing about his death is the episode where Lee is trying to decide what gift to get Naruto and Hinata, and Neji shows up as a ghost with Lee's personality. I think that's hilarious.
Does that just? Oh yeah, sure. Why not? I'm
That's
not even
the
going to question it.
it's the one this I think the one good thing is just because it's stupid and isn't.
Yeah, I will give you that. But I want to give you my last character.
All right.
We've talked about this character before, but we kind of went out of order. So, Kimmy Maru.
All right.
This dude was so cool. He fought with his bones, and he was a bad guy who was loyal to Orochimaru, but he had a sense of honor. Like, when Lee said, "Hey, hold on, please, I have to take my medicine," Kimmy Maru stops. He lets him. He understands what he's going through. And I especially like how calm he plays it, even when Lee's completely drunk. It helps sell just how ridiculous it is.
Mhm.
Is he like I said though, he needed to stick around longer.
Yeah, and his kind of tragic backstory where his clan they massacred themselves, if I remember correctly, because they're I don't know. It wasn't that their jutsu made them crazy, but it was like that they were so powerful that they just kept wanting to defeat each other to make themselves look better. I think is the
Yeah.
whole backstory. But yeah, that and the fact that you could almost expected it to be because he was supposed to be his entire being and he understood it was I'm going to be a vessel for Orochimaru, and then to know, well, I'm too sick to do this, but I can get him his new vessel. And
And
I
he
mean that shows
kind
and
of succeeded.
yeah, he held off Naruto for a while and then held off Gara for because it was Naruto, Gara, then
It
Rockley,
was
right?
Naruto, Lee, and then Gara.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because Gara shows up and it's like, whose side is he going to be on? Kind
Yeah,
of
and
thing.
Lee shows up in that awesome scene that saves Naruto like just in the nick of time.
Yeah, so this is of the fights in this arc, this is the big one by comparison to the four fights that came before it, and is definitely the best of
Yeah,
the.
he feels so much more different than the others. Like, let me put it this way: if this was Power Rangers, he would be the sixth Ranger. He felt so much more different and developed than the other four did. The other four were kind of just evil for the sake of being evil, which isn't bad necessarily, but he just felt so much more interesting. And of course, he succumbs to a sickness, and that was whack.
Yeah, and but yeah, I still remember watching this and all the different bone techniques, and I mean this legitimately because I remember seeing it probably when I was about 7 or 8. I can't remember how old I was, and watching him. I mean, reach and just pull out bones, and it's just like, it was freaky looking, but badass, and it was just, God,
That's so freaky. Can you teach me how to do it?
yeah, I mean, some of these fights I've gone back and watched on occasion. I've watched the Lee versus Gara fight, like just that fight. I didn't care about anything else. I just went back and the episode starts and went watch those 3 episodes. I've done that with this fight. I've done it with a few others, but those two are like the big ones that are how to put it. These are the fights that are fun to watch because it's they're not god level yet.
Exactly.
And but are still like these amazing powers to watch. And even like that one, it's like that's just a physical fight with Rockley versus Gara, but this is also an amazing fight, and it's Rockley's big comeback fight. It's just there's so much to love about this fight.
Especially considering when it comes to Lee, he's not using the 8 gates because he's still recovering. If he was at full power, it might have been a different story. But then again, we also have to think, if Kimmy Maru wasn't sick, it would have been a different story. There aren't as many what-ifs with Kimmy Maru as compared to other characters, but he's still a beloved character, and for good reason.
Yeah, and I know he shows up in the as one of the resurrected in the war arc, but I just seem to remember that he doesn't get anything, unfortunately. I would have loved
really.
would have loved a fight between him and Rockley and Gara again. Just Rockley, Gara teaming up against Kimmy Maru, and this is a healthy Kimmy Maru because he's a resurrection, so he's at full strength. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. But that's me, Kimmy Maru.
All right. Yeah, this is a 100% cosign. But all right, so my last one.
Go for it.
All right, Kurama, the Nine Tails.
All right, wasn't expecting that.
So he starts out as this pretty much dark entity that's just these eyes and a evil smiling mouth, and just he always seems like all he wants to do is manipulate Naruto. How can I? But you never know exactly what he wants besides to be set free. And I mean, it turns out that that's all he really wants is to be set free, so that he can get revenge on the humans that have entrapped him for so long. But he starts to grow, and you start seeing it kind of in the Pain arc, where he kind of starts making promises with Naruto. It's like, okay, I won't destroy the village, or what's left of the village, but I'll help you defeat Pain if you set me free, and then I'll go away. And then he ends up going to the point where he, when Naruto's learning from Killer Bee how to like just take control of the Nine Tails, and he starts going, this isn't the same kid that I saw grow up. He's so much different now.
Yeah.
But he ends up with, once he actually does come free from Naruto, or he becomes one with Naruto kind of thing at right before the war arc, he awakens this actually really awesome personality where he learns, I may have seen bad people and bad people may have done bad stuff to me, but that doesn't mean that everybody's evil and has to be destroyed like I thought. I can work, and I've seen this kid turn like every villain he's ever fought into an ally at some point or another.
Yeah, not to mention Naruto actually learns his name, and they're all the Jinchuriki are like, "Oh, you mean Kurama?" I'm like, "Oh, we're doing this, okay?" And he said, "Yeah, you're gonna help me, Kurama." And he's like, don't. I don't know where you heard that name, but I guess we're friends now."
Yeah, and just he becomes pretty much an advisor to Naruto as he gets throughout the war and into Boruto. You see him having conversations. They make plans together. They grow together pretty much throughout this 20-year time span, pretty much.
Yeah, and he also gets a little bit less serious, especially with Himawari knocking out Naruto. Oh, and Naruto saying, "Oh, did you miss me?" No, I didn't miss you or any. And also just the Rockley show where Lee thinks he's a kiddie.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's one of those nice relationships where I also like that Naruto shows up and goes, "Hey, listen, when I get a chance, I'm coming back and I'm going to befriend you. I'm going to take that hate and help you dissipate it, because deep down I know you really don't want to see the world destroyed."
Yeah, which helps because Killer Bee also helps with that a lot. Helps with their bond a lot too. Alright guys, technical difficulties aside, who are some of your favorite Naruto side characters? Heroes, villains, indifferent, doesn't really matter. Let us know, and personally we love doing these themed episodes, not just lists in terms of different anime, but just the same franchises, that sort of stuff. So just let us know, and smash, stack, and pin that like, subscribe, and comment button, whatever you guys do. And we will see you next time. This has been Alex and Richard, and you have been listening to the Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.